Well, this is the session, which we could call State of the Platform, or really just it's Micro.blog year in review and what's new. As a chance for Manton and Vincent to talk about some of the things that they've built this year for the platform. And also, Manton is going to talk about something new, which is exciting. And I will be mostly hanging out on the live chat, gathering your questions, and we will try to answer as many of those as we can. Um, so I will be mostly listening and reading the chat. But if anybody has questions for me, that's also cool. The I ask people in the live chat to just put a question in all caps so I can see it and sort it out from all the lively chatter that is going on today in our live chat. So with that, Manton, why don't you start?
Sure. Yeah, so I wanted to start before we get into the questions, just talking a little bit about where we are, what we've been working on, what we want to work on, and we have a couple new features that are connected that are launching right now as we speak. We just enabled them, and I want to give a quick demo of what that's like. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Um, just to kind of take a step back, I feel like, I don't know, this year, we've been doing this for years now, and every year, something changes, it's kind of unexpectedly, but I think this year in particular is a little bit, will be interesting, I guess I'll just say. There's a little bit of a time of change. Gene is moving on. Thank you, Gene, again, so much for everything you've done for Micro.blog. And in the tech world, there's a lot of disruption with AI and social networks, and just it's an interesting year. And I'm excited, but I also just taking a step back and thinking about like making sure that we still have our vision, we still know what we're doing, we don't get too distracted. But I think we've gotten a lot done this year. So just to kind of recap, one of the biggest things is we changed the pricing on Micro.blog Premium. I was nervous about doing this. I'm really glad we did it. I think that it has universally been well received. You can have 5 blogs now on Micro.blog Premium. Each one can have podcasts, has all the features, all the bookmarking stuff, newsletters. And I think that that flexibility and simplification actually has made things a lot easier. It was just too complicated, the billing before. If you went beyond the just, if you just have a blog and it's $5, fine. But if you stepped out of that to have other features and multiple blogs, it was just way too complicated. And so now it's simpler and cheaper. Really happy about that. We added some things for newsletters. We haven't done a lot with email newsletters, but we have had some flexibility with the categories, improved some things with email templates. We did a whole bunch with photos and AI, with kind of tagging photos so you can search them for the first time by keyword, and also helping if you want it. This is all if you want to opt into it for existing users, and it's on by default for brand new users. Helping if you need help, like writing alt text for accessibility text for blog posts, photos, we have some features with that. So that was a really big thing. And, like I said, AI is a huge deal this year. We just saw a bunch of announcements from OpenAI, Google, Microsoft is coming up with some announcements next week, I think, or the week after. Apple is about to have a thing. And so there's a lot we can do with it, but we're going to be really careful. And in fact, there may be nothing else this year that we do with AI besides the photos stuff, which I think is really useful. We did a bunch with Blue Sky. So you can get, if you have cross-posting on, you can now get replies from Blue Sky directly into the Micro.blog timeline, and you can reply back within Micro.blog. This is, I think kind of like it's just more of a universal interface for interacting with multiple services from within Micro.blog. So I'm excited about doing more of that. We updated the Mac app, new Firefox and Chrome extensions, browser extensions. These are for people who use bookmarks in Micro.blog, if you just need to save a bookmark for web page. And I think there's a lot more we can do now that we have actual browser extensions that can be installed easily from the Firefox add-on directory in the Chrome store. We did some stuff with blog rolls. It's been really fun seeing people experiment, seeing what Dave Weiner's doing with blog rolls, and we'll do more with that. I think it's one of those kind of old school blogging features that could make a slight comeback because it's fun and it's useful to be able to link um, to people you're reading, and it can create a sort of social network kind of on its own to help discovery. So I'm really interested in doing more of that. Muting keywords finally, and then a bunch of little things, bug fixes. We took a lot of time early in this year to improve stability, and we will be doing that again. That's ongoing, obviously, fixing bugs. And then we did a bunch with the native apps, and I'll toss it over to Vincent. We launched a brand new app even. So Vincent, tell us about where the native apps are, the Micro.blog app and Strata.
Yes, so I'm going to start with Strata then. Strata is kind of well, it is the companion app to the new notes feature we launched earlier this year. So those are kind of encrypted notes that live within Micro.blog, and you can access them and get to them in your app. So you can either use it on the web or in the native app. We've been hard at work on that in December. So kind of good back and forth there with Manton to get the API going, to kind of get the workflow, how to get your secret key into the app and everything, which is quite easy now with a QR code. So we kind of just concentrated on that in December, and it was shipped for iOS in January, I believe. And we've just been working on Android too. We've been doing some other things as well in the meantime, but we kind of took a week or two just to get Android polished up. The nice thing is because we use React Native, as we didn't have to make many changes really. The main kind of question was the encryption and decryption parts. So that was kind of the main thing. And hopefully we'll have Strata out as a test for Google as well in the next few weeks. Just a few more things we need to test. Just need to double check, get some assets going as well, some icons producing just for Android specific things. Yeah, that's going to be quite exciting to get out for Android as well. I think iOS works really well. We didn't have much feedback there. I mean, we've been doing some minor updates as well for the last few months, just to polish it up as well. But yeah, just watch out for that Strata test link for Google. If you do use Android, it would be really good to, for you to test and kind of try out. With the React Native, with the Micro.blog app, we've kept it up to date. We did fall a bit behind on Android updates, but we've kind of remedied that as well in the last few weeks. We kind of pushed everything we did for iOS the last few months. I think the last update to Android was end of November. So we kind of made sure that all those changes that we made to iOS came over to Android too. So if you haven't updated yet, I think you should. Some really good stuff in there. We've also kind of made small improvements to the share extension there as well. It's quite popular. We did have some issues with that, with it kind of crashing every second time we launched it. So we kind of, we fixed that. So it's really quick just to get a quick blog post out there. So really happy with the way it's going. Kind of recently, we've also had a few pull requests. So just recently we had Paul Robert Loy, I think, his last name. He kind of contributed a little bit as well, just some issues that we've kind of been working through, especially last year as well. And recently we had Jade. He's been contributing some actual code as well, with which we kind of merged in just one of them just last week. So yeah, it's kind of nice to see it kind of getting a bit of attention as well, because it's open source, anyone can really contribute, and if it fits with what we want to see in the app, it'll definitely be merged in. Obviously we'll test it and make sure it looks good and it all works. So yeah, really happy with the way the apps are going.
Awesome. Yeah, and Paul also did all the new icons. Like I was really happy to see those. It's really fun to see, you know, and most people don't use all the apps that we have. We have, you know, Strata, the main Micro.blog app, Wavelength, Sunlit, Epilogue, 5
Epilogue.
apps, no more. That's going to be it. But they all have like same kind of consistent themed kind of design for their icons. And it's just, they look great. The ones that are similar are they're just more polished than some of the ones that I whipped together. And so, yeah, I'm really, really glad that he was able to do that. And if you have them all on your home screen, I think it looks really cool.
Yeah.
But most people don't use all of them. But even if you just have a couple, like Strata and Micro.blog or Epilogue.
And the nice thing with the apps are, except wavelengths, they all kind of run on the same framework. So we can kind of share a lot of, you know, code between them. So that's really helpful. You know, that kind of makes us a bit faster as well, just to get some updates out.
Yeah. I think all the apps, like I like that we're slowly getting to, some of them they feel kind of familiar, but they aren't the same. Like the UI does not need to be exactly the same. Like I never want to get to the point where you like don't know which app you're in or whatever. But being able to reuse code and just have some consistencies, like where does the profile icon go and you know, that sort of thing is really nice.
Yeah. So if you, I mean, with Strata and the Micro.blog app, you can see lots of similarities, but they do two different very things, you know. So that's really nice. But we have that kind of design language from the main Micro.blog app over in Strata too. So you're not too lost, but it's still a different app. So it works really well, I think.
Cool. Thanks, Vincent. So I'm going to show demo real quick, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's next, and then hopefully questions, so we can talk through. All right, so I'll just get into it.
See the screen,
yeah.
We can
and
see
they
him
can
here.
hear us.
There you go.
Okay.
Yes.
All right,
yes.
Cool. Oh man, what are you gonna do? So there's two new things that I wanted to show that are launching today, and they're both around replies on your blog. So I want to start. This is just Safari. This is just one of my blog posts. I just posted this yesterday, just a short micro blog post, and a couple people on Micro.blog replied. Great. So it shows the conversation directly on your blog. This should be super familiar to almost everybody on Micro.blog. Not everybody has this enabled, but we've had this feature for a really long time. If people reply, you know, from Mastodon and that sort of thing, as long as it's threaded into the Micro.blog conversation, the replies will show up here. So one thing that we've been asked for is every once in a while, I mean, most people are great and they have comments like this, you know, thank you or whatever. But every once in a while you have someone who's just really in your face and you want to just basically just hide a reply. It might not be the kind of post that rises the level of like a community guidelines violation or, you know, something really hateful or something that we would want to go in and just get rid of or hide from everybody, or something that it would be reported, but it would just be like, it's just not appropriate on my blog. This is my space and my own domain name, and your comment is just not welcome here, basically. So how do we do that? So if I click on this tab back into Micro.blog, I click on Pages. This is where we manage, you know, and edit blog posts that we've made. And so this is the post that was just posted. And if it has a conversation, if there have been replies on it, there's a new button here, says curate replies. So you can edit, delete. This is also, if people haven't seen it, the manual cross-posting, if I want to send it to another network. But new button, curate replies. I tap that, and now I can see these two comments. It says what blog posts they're going to. And of course, these comments are great, but like, let's say I didn't like this comment or didn't think it was appropriate on my blog. I can just uncheck this. This is hiding reply. And now if I go back to my blog and reload, I can see it's gone. It doesn't actually hide the reply from anybody else on Micro.blog. It's still kind of an open conversation on Micro.blog. People can see replies. But if it's something that is not appropriate on your own blog, you now can curate it and take it away. So I'm really curious to see what feedback we get on this. I think this can be useful, not very often, but every once in a while that you want this kind of control. So in this case, of course, there's nothing wrong with this reply. I'm gonna add it back. I can hit reload, comes back. So the second feature, let me click back on my blog post. The second feature is around kind of one of the limitations on this page. You see these replies, but how do I add my own reply? A lot of people have a link to, like, view this conversation on Micro.blog, find this on Mastodon. There's some plugins, there's themes that make this really easy. There's I mean, Vincent, you have the buttons to say, yeah, I saw this is cool. So there's different ways to do that, but what some people are missing is kind of like more of an old school blog comments, where if someone's reading my blog, I really want them to be able to reply directly here. So this is a new option. If you click back on Micro.blog, if I click on design and I scroll down, there's a new checkbox, add reply text box on post page. And just click that and I'll save this page. And this checkbox is only enabled if you also have this include conversation post. So this is all powered by what we call conversation.js, which is this little include that you can put on any blog that pulls in the conversation. So if I go back to my blog and I reload, I can now see this little text box. It says sign in with Micro.blog, Mastodon, or Blue Sky to reply. We wanted to make this kind of as flexible as possible. If I have a Micro.blog account, great, but also Mastodon and Blue Sky. So if I click on Mastodon, it'll ask me to pick my server and go through that whole thing to sign in. We're not going to do that. Same thing with Blue Sky. It'll ask me to log in my Blue Sky account. And this isn't to post to those services. This is just to verify you are who you said you were. And so when the reply appears, it will be from that account. But this may end up being a little confusing. We'll see what the feedback is, but it does not actually post to Blue Sky if you log in as Blue Sky. It just creates the reply as your Blue Sky identity, right? So there's no way to have like anonymous comments right now. You have to say, this is who I am. And then that identity is used and things are threaded in with that identity. So I'm going to use Micro.blog. I'm just going to click on that. I'm already signed in, so it was just like instantly redirected. It was really fast. But then I can say, just to, someone, Sven, beat me to it.
You got to block that one fast.
That's funny. So I'll add one down. So I'll say post. It sends it out, and then I can see that the reply is there. And it's also on Micro.blog, so it will appear in the thread coming from that user. And if it's Blue Sky, if it's Mastodon, it will look like it's that user because we verified that they are who they say they are. So that's the feature. I'm really excited to hear what people think of this. I feel like this little text box is kind of so simple, but it has been missing, and now we've got it. And you can imagine there are other ways to expand this in the future, but this seemed like a good place to start. Micro.blog, Mastodon, Blue Sky, sign in, add a reply. So I'm gonna stop sharing, and then oh, go ahead.
There's some questions. Can you imagine? Okay. There's
Let's ask
questions from the
now.
audience.
Yeah, we'll ask questions. Yeah.
I mean, while we're on this, since it's a new feature and people are very excited and anxious to try. And as we saw, Sven, what a comment bombed our Zoom today. So one question that came up right away was this: will this work? So going back to the curating comments, will that work for replies that are, say, from elsewhere in the Fediverse, like Mastodon?
Yes, it works for any reply that is that Micro.blog knows about.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where they're
Cool.
from. Blue Sky, Threads, Mastodon, anywhere.
Okay. Cool. And so anyone can just sign in to make a reply now if they have a Mastodon, Micro.blog, or Blue Sky account. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, I just wanted to verify. It
Yep.
seems really cool. I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
Well, myself, like, honestly, people, this is the
Brand
first
new.
time I'm actually seeing it.
I
If
like
you
to
want to
surprise
know
everybody. Yeah.
how things work at Micro.blog, sometimes I just wake up in the morning and it's like a new feature is available. It's always exciting. So that is really cool, Manton. I think that is getting a little closer to like what I thought Micro.blog could do 7 years ago.
We'll get there
Only
eventually.
because, because some of the things you said, no, we're never doing, like, likes and retweets and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I sort of wanted to talk about that a little bit earlier when we were talking to Christina about what our ideal social media, universe looks like. And I thought when I started at Micro.blog, I thought it's going to be Twitter, exactly Twitter, and totally interact with Twitter, but it won't be Twitter, it'll be Micro.blog. But I like, I like how things have, first of all, I liked it when I finally figured out exactly what Micro.blog was doing that was different than Twitter. Blogging, for example, at your own domain, that's huge. But also, I like that, we've built these things over time, building out the platform and figuring out what people want. So I'm also really curious to see how people like this, especially with the Blue Sky, which you mentioned earlier. I went ahead and turned Blue Sky cross posting back on because I I haven't been automatically cross posting anywhere. It's just not my style. I don't need to, I'm not a news source. I'm just me. And so if I don't have any people I'm really communicating with, I don't feel the need to be posting there. But since I wasn't doing anything with Blue Sky anyway, I thought, well, why not? I'll do what Manton does, cross post. And then one day I posted pictures of Puppy, and suddenly I had all these replies. And I said, what the heck is going on? And then I realized, oh, it was Blue Sky. And for whatever reason, people felt, because I never get replies on Blue Sky. I never
People love
got them.
pets.
I now have done the testing, and my future blog is only going to be pet pictures. But
Cats and
yeah, so that was
guinea pigs.
interesting. But
Yeah.
I'll be glad to know that if I do that again, I can remove a comment without,
Yeah.
not remove, as you say.
It's really a hiding. Yeah.
But it's a good hiding because it's very well hidden, because really it was very galling to see a thing on one's own blog page. That was really annoying.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's like buried in the timeline, like nobody's, it's not the same. I mean, ideally, I would think, it would be nice if you could just delete comments on your own blog, but there's a difference between your blog and the timeline. So I get why it's like that, but it's a big help. So thank you for that. I'm going to just check the chat again for some more questions.
Yeah. And I mean, while you do that, I'll just say with the Blue Sky, and if it's not clear, the goal, like people that are reading your blog don't have a Micro.blog account, perhaps. In fact, most probably don't, right? If they're reading, obviously people on Micro.blog that are following you and reading your blog, they do have a Micro.blog account. But, many of us blog hoping that, other people, just random people on the internet, will find what we're doing useful. So if they come across your blog and they do want to leave a comment, but they don't know what Micro.blog is, this is another way they can log in. So no Micro.blog account
Yeah.
required. And the thing I demoed with like signing in as those accounts that, yeah, they don't require a sign in. They are on Micro.blog to sign you in, but they're just their own little special space.
Okay.
And with comments on the timeline, it's also important that we have community guidelines as well. So if there's ever a comment there that gets flagged, and we see those instantly, and we kind of have the ability to hide those from everyone if we have to.
Yeah.
So that's built in.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's worth underscoring that, like, if there is some like hate speech or something terrible, yeah, you could quickly click and hide it, but you should also report that and make sure that, it's kind of escalated to the next level, because there's some things that are just not appropriate anywhere on Micro.blog. And hopefully those are super rare, but
yeah.
Yeah,
Now, I think that this is more like sometimes people hijack your post.
exactly. Yeah,
That's the worst.
That's what it
for
is.
some, or they make a mean comment, like not a. It's just annoying. Like, why do I have to have that there? Person doesn't like what I'm doing. What? What? Yeah, it's a person doesn't like what I'm doing, and they feel compelled to make a smart aleck comment, and that I don't need to look at that forever, and I don't feel like the free speech, which is I'm not really talking about free speech, but in other words, I don't want to filter out opposing viewpoints, but on my blog, I don't want to be sniped at for stupidly sniped at. It doesn't really happen.
No, this feature is not something I expect people will use every day. Like I can think of a couple places I'd want to use this feature in the past, but it's pretty rare. Like most people are good, like most people are respectful when they leave a comment. But it is your blog, right? And that's the difference. It's like, like John Gruber talks about this sometimes with Daring Fireball. He's never had comments because it's his brand, it's his space, it's his writing, and he doesn't personally want to, it's not a platform for other people, right? It's his. And I think a lot of people feel that way. Like, we love getting comments and feedback, but every once in a while, or maybe more often than every once in a while, we have a post that this is my platform, this is my domain name, these are my thoughts, and I don't owe you a space below my blog to add a comment. But again, this feature does not remove it from the internet. It's still on Micro.blog, so we can still have these kind of discussions, and even even discussions that aren't that could escalate into like being like annoying, or the comments that are, you don't agree with them, and maybe it starts a little bit of a debate, but again, it doesn't rise to the level of some
community
extreme
community guideline violation, however you characterize it. There's a question which is an interesting one, because it sort of brings up a whole area of Micro.blog that we don't talk about that much anymore: free accounts. Can free accounts comment? They can't. Can they?
So yes, actually they can. Yeah,
okay,
they can.
I forget how it works. We haven't really focused on that in a long time.
We haven't, and we've changed it a few times. Change it either to simplify things or to try to get rid of spammers. So we are a little picky right now when you start a free account, making sure that you add a credit card and that sort of thing, so that we know like you're a real non-spammer. But replies are a little bit exempt from that. So someone could create a Micro.blog free account and they could use this feature to reply. Currently,
I mean, anybody who makes a trial and doesn't continue afterwards has essentially a free account.
That's correct. Yeah, a free account is just a paid account that's not being paid for, basically. So it's not really treated in a special way. It's just you can't post to your blog, but you can continue to interact with the community and reply on other people's posts.
Just talking about spam accounts, we also have kind of some new stuff that we've done behind the scenes to flag potential spam accounts, so we can do more to kind of restrict replies if we had to. So.
Yep. Yeah, I think that will always be an evolving thing of like the balance between, allowing anyone to join and participate and also not being overrun with spammers. So some of that, it will, it'll change as it needs to change.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Manton. That was exciting to have a live demo, even if it did require a technical difficulty. I mean, an intermission in the program.
That's my fault. I should have.
That's
elevator music.
So that's that. You had a couple other things you wanted to cover. I think you want to get to that.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to just talk a little bit about where we're going the rest of the year. I kind of recapped a little bit about some of the things we've worked on. There's a couple things we're definitely doing this year, and of course, there's a bunch of things that we're not sure. Things change, like priorities change. So we can't exactly predict everything that's going to happen. We'll get new feedback that maybe we'll want to run with. But a couple things I can be sure of. We are working on a new text editor. I previewed this a little bit, maybe a month ago. This is especially important on the web, on mobile. The text editing interface on mobile, on the web, not the native apps, is very frustrating to use. And we may even launch it there first. We'll see how it rolls out. But I'm hoping this can be the next big thing that we roll out this year. And it's not flashy and like doesn't look like a new feature, but I'm looking forward to the web editor being a little more of a friendly citizen with the OS in terms of spell check, that sort of thing. And also removing one of the dependencies we have. There's a whole bunch of JavaScript behind the scenes in the text editor that we can get rid of. So I'm looking forward to that. Maybe it'll be a little faster even. So that's one thing.
The current editor is quite hard to kind of expand as well. So it's kind of hit some roadblocks. So it would be nice to get that out. Yeah,
it's tricky. And so that's a big one that I wanted to highlight. Another thing, we talked about threads, a lot earlier on the session with Christina, and threads. Two things are happening this year that I want to make sure we stay on top of. The first is Federation. They're slowly rolling this out, so you can follow threads accounts from Micro.blog currently. If the threads users have opted in to the Fediverse. But there's still a lot they haven't done. Like if you reply to one of those people, threads currently just sort of takes that reply and it goes into the void. No one ever sees it. So as they expand that, I just want to make sure we stay on top of it. So Micro.blog is a really good peer to threads. So there'll be some more work with that probably. And some little fixes. I fixed an issue recently with profile photos from threads loading. There's still some work to do on that. So that'll be a priority, as well as cross-posting the threads. Tons of people have asked for this. We're just waiting on the API that Meta has said they will roll out. They've already released the documentation, so we can get a head start. But they said they'll roll it out to everybody in June, I believe, next month. So that'll be a nice addition to our cross-posting arsenal, I guess. I don't know, different services. It's probably not the right word to use. I'm sorry, but our grab bag of cross-posting services. And the other thing I just wanted to highlight, we have every once in a while we're always fixing bugs, right? Every week, every day, there's some little tweak or improvement that I want to make. And then sometimes there's an opportunity to take a step back and more fundamentally improve a whole bunch of things. And I feel like we had a chance to do that earlier this year. I remember I spent a bunch of time on some optimizations back in December and January, and I'm looking forward to doing that again, making posting faster. There's a kind of a funny thing with Micro.blog is very unique in that, and people shouldn't have to understand how it works, but it is a little unique in that when you post, a lot of things happen behind the scenes. Like it runs it through Hugo, it publishes it to a different server, it makes it on your own domain name, and it's kind of this eventually consistent kind of problem slash feature where things will work, but sometimes not as quickly as you would like, and there's not as much feedback as you would like. And we've made a lot of progress on this, like the little progress bar that shows up in the corner now on the web, I think is a good step in the right direction. But I'm really interested in doing even more with this because I know it can be really frustrating for people who don't understand how Micro.blog works. It's just a roadblock. It's like, why when I post to Twitter is it immediately, and why on Micro.blog is it not as immediate as it could be? So hope to really improve that. So those are the things I wanted to highlight. Of course, there'll be other little features, but those will definitely happen. Those things with threads, improvements to stability and performance, and the new editor.
Yeah, with the stability and performance, we've been really working hard on that. I mean, especially in Manton, and all those problems, they also quite new, and it's always kind of a different problem. So the old issues are fixed, and then just we get the odd one come up. So
yeah,
I think in general we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I think I made some kind of comment along those lines when we had some downtime a few months ago of like, it was like a server that literally had been flawless for years. But sometimes you get unlucky. And we have upgraded a couple servers this year, actually. We added a new server, I think at the end of last year, and then we upgraded at least a couple to just be bigger and better. So, there's always going to be that kind of work to do also.
Cool. And I think, Vincent, you wanted to talk a bit about what we're doing on the admin curation side, just to let people know.
Yeah, just quickly.
What's happening?
Yeah, so I've kind of taken a few weeks just to work on the admin side of things. A few months ago, I believe, for Gene, I worked on kind of a new interface for curating posts and everything. I think that's gone down pretty well. It's just a much clearer and easier to see timeline, basically the fire hose of Micro.blog. So you can kind of see all the posts there. And if you're a curator, you can, go through the posts, you see who's posting, if a post has got traction or not, if that user was featured previously and how many times. And that's kind of now surfaced, and it's kind of easy to see, and you can scroll through it much easier, and you can just say, okay, I want to feature this post and discover. And I think it's just a much more friendly kind of approach to curating, because last year I've been curating as well, a little bit this year too. And from that you just get ideas. Obviously I've been talking with Gene on the curation side of things too. So it's like kind of a back and forth on getting that right. But for kind of longer term goal, just make it easy in general for the people that will curate to curate the Discover timeline, and also kind of get a quick overview of the actual user. Do we is this user new? Are they a spammer? Do we have to block them? All this kind of stuff. This is all kind of built in. So I've been working on that. The timeline bit, I've been working on that throughout the last few months. I think it's pretty much there. I'm just now working on kind of the interface for the actual curation side of things too, because it's a slightly different layout than what we see in the kind of back end. Yeah, just to make that much more friendlier to anyone just want to use it, or gets invited.
Yeah, and right now, people are asking like, I don't see this. Hardly anyone sees it, right? It's only a few people. But the goal was always to have more people. Oh, I got a dog in here.
Yeah, also
Didn't close the door good enough.
He's famous now.
Yeah, I mean, we always wanted to kind of expand things a little more, and one of the reasons we couldn't, or I wasn't comfortable doing that right away, is just having that sort of like, back end creation interface just more approachable, easier for multiple people to use, just less technical bits that you needed, so you don't have to be a programmer to use it. So anyway, that's why that's important, and that's why Vincent's been doing more work on that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it a little more in the next session, which is the social hour, so we won't talk much about, but Kimberly Hirsch is coming on to do the curation and other things as you all decide what you want to do. But we are still committed to this human curated timeline in this very automated and artificial intelligence enhanced world. We've just felt like it represents Micro.blog. It doesn't represent it's and definitely I've been the one doing most of the curating, so it definitely has a flavor that works for me, and so I'm interested in seeing more people, as I'll continue to be a regular user of Micro.blog and reading Discover to find new people and seeing what's happening. I'll be very interested to see how how other people do this task. And some of the things that Vincent was talking about that are important were, we don't feature things automatically, but we do try to spread out the featuring of people. So we do. It's not that you see like a big chart and say that says so and so has never been featured this week, but you can see with each post, this person's had a lot of their posts featured recently, and you can sort of adjust it as a human being. But sometimes the post is so apropos for Micro.blog, or it has puppies in it, and it doesn't matter how many times that person's been featured already. The puppies stay on the timeline. I mean, I think anybody who's casually skimmed through the timeline knows there's the only pets that don't get featured on Micro.blog are the dogs, hashtag dogs of Mastodon, a hashtag, cats of Mastodon. I'm sorry. We don't support hashtags, as I think is well known, but we especially don't, nothing against Mastodon, but if your dog is of Mastodon, let them get their likes over on Mastodon where they belong. That sounds terrible, but
and it's interesting. I mean, we could certainly talk about that a lot more.
yeah.
And like the sort of the thinking behind the Discover section of Micro.blog, and also how it evolves. Like we've changed our mind a couple of times on the best way to do that. But we are convinced that humans should be involved and not algorithms. And that's not to say that AI eventually won't play a role. I actually think that we could build some very interesting tools using AI to help the human figure out how to make sense of all this stuff, right? Because there's a lot of posts that flow through Micro.blog, especially if you count not just the blog posts, but the Mastodon posts, the Blue Sky posts. Like in the admin interface, we hide a lot of that by default because it can be quite overwhelming. There's just so many posts flowing through with like Mastodon, especially. So having better tools to help humans make sense of, posts from what to, include and discover to, like you said, spammers, Vincent, I think that's really important. Like having tools to let humans do their job, not tools that run unattended.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a nice thing with the
That's
spam score. I think not spam score, but to see if someone is potentially spam. There's so many markers, that you can kind of correlate and try to get together. It's difficult to do just in code because there's so many different points. But having something automated in that respect, is easier for us just to kind of catch more and yeah.
Cool. So let me just look at the Q&A. Was there anything else you guys wanted to cover from a platform perspective?
No, that's the main things I wanted to hit.
Of course, I will take out. There was a question, but I think we can answer it offline. Some more technical questions. I think we should go when we sign off of this Zoom. Maybe have a quick run through the live chat, so you can. There's probably some questions you can knock off without too much trouble that are just there right now.
One post I just saw flagged from Annie that is about the reply box. I'll answer that one really quick because this is a good question.
Yeah.
One follow-up on the conversation features: the reply box is only to the original post itself, not to other replies. That will still need to happen within the timeline on Micro.blog. That's correct. The idea is that you'll use this little reply box to reply to the blog post. And I mean, you could mention other replies, so it can feel like you're replying to the thread in general. And there could even be a back and forth from two public non-Micro.blog users. But there's no way to say like I'm replying to this specific person in the thread. It's really you're replying to the original poster. And so in fact, when you type in your reply, it automatically prefixes it with the username of the person who wrote the post, just to kind of enforce that. Not enforce it, but just kind of like underscore like that's what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So that's a good question. You can imagine we could expand that. I'm not interested though in doing like a threaded reply thing where you can reply.
That was my next question.
I find those difficult to manage as a user. And I think most people's blogs, they just don't have 50 replies on them where you would need that. Now, sometimes they do, and it can be overwhelming to have like a flat list of replies. But for the most part, I don't think that's what's happening. I think people have a handful of replies, and the flat list and the simple just add a reply at the end, I think is the way to go.
Yeah. Cool. One last question that was in the chat was, what's the plan post Gene? And I've already referred to at least some of that plan. And I don't know if you want to elaborate on that. I am obviously not in on the planning.
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about this maybe in one of my blog posts, but not much. And I talked about it actually a little bit today in my podcast Core Intuition that I do with Daniel Jalkut. And the general plan is like, I don't think that Gene is 100% replaceable with a clone of herself. It's like everybody's different. And so the goal is not to just find another exact Gene, because everybody brings different strengths, I think. So for now, the opportunity is, we can work, we're really happy that we can work with Kimberly, and that's going to be part-time. And I'd love to have other people also on the community team, like helping with curation. I know some people in the past have asked to, just to help out from time to time. And so that gets back to those tools that we can build to make it easier for someone to pop in And, like there was someone mentioned earlier in the chat about like people in different time zones. Maybe there's someone, in Europe or Japan who is on a different sleep schedule than those of us in the US, and they're interested in hopping on every once in a while and keeping an eye on things. So yeah, that the plan is really to like just see where we go from here, expand the team as we're able to. Obviously, we're really small, what we can kind of afford to do still, but and then see what happens. Like when Jean and I started working together, I didn't know she was going to do the Micro Monday podcast, right? That turned out to be great. I love that. Didn't know, we were going to do the photo challenge, or there's all these different things that you just can't really predict until you have someone helping out. And so I'm interested in just like keeping an open mind and seeing where it goes. But obviously we have like the core vision of what we're trying to do. We've been trying to do for 7 years, so that doesn't change.
Cool. I think that covers it.
The
So
roadmap is here. Just
the roadmap is it's we keep
you can see it here. Look,
we keep the roadmap in a secret bunker in Europe. That's how we keep it safe and quiet.
I'd say another reply real quick. I'll just jump in.
Yeah, sure.
It appears that the reply box only shows on posts that have existing comments. Is that intentional? It's not showing on posts with no comments. That is not intentional. That I think I noticed that too. I thought it was a bug on my blog, but if it's an actual bug across Micro.blog, then I will fix that today. I thinking about it, I can see how that may happen. Like if there are no existing replies, it doesn't bother showing anything. So I'll fix that. That should be a simple fix, because yeah, it's not supposed to work that way. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Vincent, did you want to add anything before we wrap up here?
Good. It's been nice.
Same. I'm going to, like I said, we'll be over. I'm posting either in the chat, or you'll see it also. I'm putting on micro.blog/camp. The @camp micro.blog page is the link to another Zoom where we'll have an informal meetup. And Kimberly will be there, so yay. And some other people will be there. Oh, and actually I totally forgot. I've written in big letters on this analog tool of mine, the credit card. No, the index card. Yes, I'm really good at this. That if you haven't heard, there's a monthly analog tools meetup that's organized by Halstead, who is at Cynoir, Cygnoir, Cynoir, and that's been going on for a while now. And Halstead, I don't even know, I haven't been, but I know it's popular based on seeing the post-mortems after the meetup. So there's one tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So I suggest you go to micro.blog/Cynoir, or I don't know how to give you a better link. I'm looking in the chat to see if I'll post it. We'll post it we'll also post it on the I'll add it to Discover. It'll be right up at the top. So yeah, I totally recommend that. Maybe I need to go so I can like remember what these things are called, paper and pen. So good. Yay me, I did not forget that. And I just wanted to say, we can chit chat about things in the next session, but it's been really awesome to work at Micro.blog for 7 years. And I wanted to thank both of you guys. Vincent, we've had such fun doing projects together. And of course, Manton, I mean, we just have been working since that coffee shop date in Portland. And I just really appreciate opportunity that I've had to do work on such a cool enterprise. And to the community, you all made it great, because I think I thought I was going to be marching around swatting spammers and trolls, and really, like I said, I feel like I'm going to be the Judge Judy of Micro.blog, but it hasn't really turned out that way at all. I mean, of course, there's some, you know who you are. You're actually not listening to this. Nobody listening to this is in the problem category. But I just want to say, keep it going, like, if the community changes over time, but yeah, I think that it's just it's a great place to be, and just be excellent to each other. That's all that I ask of you going forward, because I am going to also be there, and so I would like this community to continue to be a nice place to hang out on the internet, and I'm sure it will be.
Thank you so much for being part of it. It's been really great. And yeah, thank you. I know everybody really appreciates you being involved in the community for so long. So yeah, thank you so much for everything you've done. And yeah, it's funny. I was thinking, like, we on day one, we didn't have all these spammers and people you had to like spot away, and I hope we continue not to have too many of them, but it would be kind of funny if we had a couple of problems, and then you could say, like, well, that didn't happen when I was at Micro.blog. Like,
Yeah,
that
all
didn't
those
happen.
spammers, all those escort services have been waiting for me to leave so they
Now they're
can
gonna,
come back and track.
yeah.
They never were successful polluting our time zone, our timeline. I
Yeah,
mean, and I mean, there's the usual spammers,
yeah,
but I mean, there were some interesting people who got creative and managed to get,
yeah,
at reply spam, which is really our,
yeah,
our place where people, but a robot can't do that. I mean, don't listen
yeah,
to me, robots, right now, but as far as I know, you have to be a human being thinking, like, how can I reach somebody with my, I don't even want to say some of the things that
yeah,
have been, anyway, but we appreciate everybody keeping on top of that too, and letting us know so we can shut things down as quickly as possible. But
yeah.
overall,
That's
99.99% happiness with the posting going on.
Thank you again. Thanks very much. And thanks everybody for listening. I think we'll take a quick 15-minute break, and then we'll be back for the happy hour and check the chat for a link to the Zoom. We can hang out for a bit. And I think that's it. Talk to you all later.
Bye.
Bye.